Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Jesse Meckling, the Director of Education at the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown. Thanks for joining me this morning. This week is an encore week of cool marine animals that I have seen series, and thank you for joining me today. So this week there's not any particular theme of the animals, except that all of these animals we're talking about this week are endangered or even critically endangered. And today's cool marine animal is, I believe, the first bird that we've had in the series. Yes, birds are marine animals. It is an endemic species found in a very, very small geographic area, very far away from Massachusetts. So today we're going to be traveling quite far away to find this diminutive little animal. There's just an estimated 1,000 breeding pairs left in the world, so it is quite endangered, and it is the rarest of its kind of this type of animal. And I am speaking about the Galapagos penguin. So let's get started with our presentation today. So the Galapagos penguin is Galapagos penguins are among a group of penguins known as banded penguins. They're the second smallest species, the only species found north of the equator we'll talk about, and as all species this week listed as endangered. Banded penguins, this group of penguins have common traits that include a band of black that runs around their bodies, black beaks, and small vertical white bands. There are 4 species of penguins in this group of animals, 3 of which live in South America. They are all small species. The other species of this banded penguins lives in South Africa and Namibia, and all lay eggs and raise their young in nests situated in burrows or depressions in the earth, unlike the many penguins found in Antarctica that lay their eggs right on the ground, if you've probably seen from many nature documentaries. So Galapagos penguins are endemic to the Galapagos archipelago, located off the west coast of Ecuador, and they live actually just 90 to 95% of them live on just 2 islands. Isabella Island, which is the large island that kind of looks like a seahorse, and then to the west of that, Fernandina Island. These are the 2 islands where most of the species are found. There are, in the western part of the Galapagos archipelago, there are a couple of small populations, as you can see, occurring on some of the other smaller islands. But most of the penguins live in this very small area. And this island, Isabella, which looks like a seahorse, at the very northern end of that island, the equator crosses there. So these penguins are the only penguin species that lives in both the northern and some of the southern hemisphere, and lives north of the equator, albeit just slightly north of the equator, not too far north. When I actually saw these penguins, I saw them in the southern part of the island of Isabella, so I did not see them in the northern hemisphere. I saw them in the southern hemisphere. So Galapagos penguins are the smallest of the South American banded penguins, and the second smallest penguin in the world after the little penguin, which lives in Australia and New Zealand. Galapagos penguins average about 49 centimeters or 19 inches long and weigh just 2.5 kilograms or 5.5 pounds in weight. Males are larger than females. Since these penguins live near the equator, or just about on the equator, the strong tropical sun is very problematic for them. Their primary means of cooling off is going in the water, which is where they spend most of their time. Of course, I saw them actually both in the water and land, which was interesting. But they have other behavioral adaptations to help thermoregulate their bodies when they have to remain on land. These penguins often stand with their flippers extended to radiate excess heat, and they walk slightly hunched over to keep their bare feet in the shade. This prevents sunburn. They also are known to pant, and this bare patches on their. They also have bare patches on their faces, which help release additional heat, which is always a concern in this environment. The Galapagos penguin is a carnivore. As with all penguin species, they are extremely agile underwater and can reach speeds up to 35 kilometers per hour or 21 miles per hour when hunting. And their diet consists primarily of cold water schooling fish such as anchovies, sardines, and mullet, as well as some crustaceans. Since much of the marine life in the Galapagos depends on the cold, rich, nutrient waters, a number of currents, namely the Humboldt Current, the Peru Current, and the Cromwell Current, all converge in the Galapagos, bringing nutrient-rich water. Warming of these waters during El Nino events can severely impact these species. El Nino events are when the surface waters of the Pacific become warmer. Not as many nutrients from the cold water currents get up to the surface. There's less primary production and thus less food for species such as the Galapagos penguin. We also talked about this with the Galapagos sea lion, that they are heavily impacted by the effects of El Nino as well. And in fact, during a extremely harsh El Nino in the early 80s, between 1982 and 1983, there was a population decline of 77% of these penguins, which is one of the reasons why they are endangered. Galapagos penguins reach sexual maturity between the ages of 3 and 8. Mating season depends on available food resources. It usually takes place between May and January, and when sea surface temperature is below 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Galapagos penguins form couples that last for a lifetime. So they mate for a lifetime. They preen each other and tap one another with their bills to strengthen their relationship, as many other penguin species do. There's no soft peat for burrowing in the Galapagos, so females will lay usually 2 eggs in rocks or crevices and depressions in the lava flows. So they'll find cracks and holes in the lava flows to lay their eggs. The nests are usually made within 50 meters of water on shore, so they nest quite close to the ocean. And both male and female participate in the incubation of eggs, which lasts between 35 and 40 days. One parent will always be present with the eggs, or once they hatch with the young chicks, while the other maybe go off and feed for several days. While they lay 2 eggs, they usually only rear 1 chick. And if there's not enough food available, they will actually abandon the nest. But conversely, if there is enough food available, they may actually breed 2 to 3 times a year during plentiful years. During El Nino seasons, as we mentioned, the penguins actually defer breeding because their food becomes less abundant. We also talked about this with Galapagos sea lions as well. And this makes, with lesser food, this makes the chance of successfully raising offspring unfavorable compared to the penguins actually dying. So they usually abandon their nest or just completely don't breed at all. Young Galapagos penguins develop protective feathers within about 30 days of hatching, and they fledge at the age of 65 days. They're ready for independent life sometime between 3 and 6 months. And these animals can live to be 15 to 20 years in the wild. Due to their small size, they have many natural predators, including owls, hawks, and snakes on land, and sharks, sea lions, and fur seals in the sea. So there's many animals out there wanting to eat these little animals. In addition, there are some major human threats to these animals, namely the introduction of domesticated and feral cats, dogs, and rats on particularly Isabella Island, which is one of the inhabited islands in the Galapagos, that attack both the adult penguins and destroy nests. They're also sometimes caught as bycatch in local fisheries, but perhaps the largest threat however, is the reduction in food resources during these El Nino events, which happen periodically, affecting the waters around the Galapagos. And we've discussed this in other Cool Marines series, but recent studies have looked at the possibility of these events intensifying into the future due to global climate change and increased sea surface temperatures. So what that means for future El Nino events and what that means for the species is still yet remains yet to be seen. But with only 1,000 breeding pairs and an estimated 1,500 individuals, it's not intense El Nino events could have a severe impact on the species as a whole, and could be disastrous for them. But hopefully, they are resilient. Their populations did rebound slightly after the or did rebound after the 82-83 El Nino. So hopefully, in future years, they will continue to do that. So that is all for today on the Galapagos penguin, a very cool little bird. And I want to thank you for joining me again for another Facebook Live edition of cool marine animals that I have seen. I hope you can join me tomorrow for another cool marine animal. And so with that, I will leave you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for joining me, and hope you can join me again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.